Hey everyone, so in today's video I'll be talking about the KCGT and how I went and just talking about the event in general. So first things first, my final ranking was 73rd global, which I'm really happy about because I get a silver icon and also entry into the KCGT main event, which happens next month. So last year I got 70th global, so I was able to participate in the main event last year as well. So that's 2 consecutive years which I can participate in it. So I'm really happy about that, and I'm looking forward to doing well in next month's main event as well. So now after getting a silver icon in this event, I now have 1 gold icon and 4 silver icons. And I would have actually had a 5th one in one of the KC Cups if I just decided to stay at my highest point, but I played a bit more and ended up losing that one. But anyway, at the moment I have 4 silver icons now and 1 gold icon, so that's pretty good. Maybe one day I can get another gold icon, but who knows. So in the description of the video, I'll leave timestamps if you just want to skip around to the parts you're interested in. I think I'll put in timestamps for like decks or like the replays. I also want to give my thanks to my friends who supported me during the event by giving me positive words of encouragement. Even when I started losing a bit, they were there to cheer me on and support me. So I'm really appreciative of them, because if it wasn't for them, I might have just lost motivation and given up on like the final night. So yeah, big thanks to all those guys. So I'll talk about the decks I used. I mainly used Triamid and Hero. My thought processes behind using these decks were, with Hero, I just wanted to get a few quick wins in at the start, which ended up working really well. I got to 25,000 DP really quickly with Heroes. And with Triamids, that's the deck I practiced the most, so I was most comfortable using the deck. And even if it wasn't the best choice during the event, it was the deck I was most confident in using, which I think led to my success, rather than trying to find a deck that I wasn't as confident as using but had better matchups. So I thought, especially for this KC Cup, the key was to use a deck that you were most confident in using. This KC Cup was really interesting because there were so many character deck tricks and disguises that happened. So for example, Jack could be the Resonator deck, but it could also be Beatdown Hero or Level Tuning Evil Eye. And I even played against the Draw Sense Dark Shiranui as well. Mai with Harpy's Hunting Ground could either be Harpy Ladies or Triamid. Yami Yugi with a high deck count could be either Thunder Dragons or Fire King. Yubel could either be Allure of Darkness Thunder Dragon or Fiend Farewell Thunder Dragon. So there were so many ways you could disguise the deck you were using. So before the event, I was planning to use Harpies because that was one of the decks I had practiced using. But what I realized was, if you're using Harpies, well, most of the time you'll go into Cyber/Harpy and then do the Harpy's Feather Rest play to draw 2 cards. But sometimes you'd want to go into XCs, for example Steel Swarm Roach or number 18 or Abyss Dweller. And since there were so many like disguised decks, it wasn't a good idea to do that, because for example, if you brought out Steel Swarm Roach against a Jack player and it turns out they were using Beatdown Hero, you would instantly lose because Roach does nothing against heroes. And then heroes can just easily OTK you the next turn. And I'd won so many games because I was using heroes and my opponents would just play Roach turn 1 and I'd just OTK them the next turn. Same thing against the Hunting Ground, because if you bring out number 18 and they're Triamids, it barely affects them as well. So that was also one reason why at the start it was really easy to get quick wins, because opponents wouldn't really be thinking that much and then they just put out a Xyz monster that was useless. Overall, I think this was a really good format. There were no oppressive decks like Star Seraphs or the Turn 1 Noble Knights that were in the previous KC Cups this year. If you look at my graph, for example, or just like top decks in the event, you can see there's a wide range, like a wide variety of decks that were used. And I think that indicates a good format because any deck could win and any deck could lose. So talking more in depth about my decks. So Triamid was a deck that I thought had a really good matchup spread before the event, but it quickly changed into quite a few bad matchups. For example, against Onomats and Resonators, at the start of the event and before the event, I thought it would be really good against both decks because they would use Trinade, and then if you have Pulse, Trinade doesn't do anything, it's just a -1 for them. But then those decks started catching on and stopped using Trinade and they replaced it for MST. And MST makes Triamids a lot weaker. If they have MST against Triamids, like, you pretty much lose, because if you have a back row, they'll just destroy the back row. Or if you have a field spell, they'll just chain MST on the field spell. So I pretty much lost like most of my games. My opponent drew MST and that was really hard. So At the start it was easier because they were running Triamid, but towards the end it was really difficult. I could barely win against those decks. The thing that hurt the most was when I had Triamid Pulse and TTH set, and then they use MST on the Pulse, so they get rid of Pulse, and then they also render TTH useless as well. So that was the thing that hurt the most, and I thought maybe I'll change TTH to Book of Moon, because if that situation happened, I'll still have another backup plan. But in the end, I didn't do it just because TTH has so much power when it works. I didn't really use many extra deck cards in the Triamid deck this time. If you're wondering about a few of the cards, Zenmains is mainly in there to get rid of Necro Valley in a desperate situation, because if they have Necro Valley up, you can't destroy anything with Triamid Pulse. I didn't summon Gemini Pearl, but the reasoning behind Pearl was if you have Triamid King Golem up, Pearl becomes 3100 attack, which can get over a lot of monsters. However, I didn't summon it this time. If I had to change extra deck cards, I might use Trishula because it's good against Shiranui because you can banish your floodgated monsters. And I'm not too sure about this, but I think it can banish the tokens summoned from Revival Gift as well. So doing that can help free up my board. Gaia Dragon was another option. I originally had it in there, but I ended up taking out Gaia Dragon for number 18. And I didn't use Gaia Dragon during the event, but I did use number 18 once, so I think it was a worthwhile switch. In terms of the hero deck, the main deck is like really basic. If you don't know, Minimum Ray is used on turn 1 against the Harpy deck because it's a non-targeting destruction, so Harpies have no way of dodging it unless they have the Chalice or like a MST or Cosmic Cyclone. For my hero extra deck, the Xyz monster I think it's up to the player. I know some people use Excalibur instead, or some people use like Nightmare Shark or Levier. But the reason I used Malevolent Sin was if I go first and my final board is Increase in Defense, Vion in Defense, and Stratos. My opponents sometimes they don't want to attack because if they attack to clear up a spot, I can summon Stratos my next turn and then destroy their back row. So they might just decide not to attack and they'll leave all the monsters on the field. And then if they do that, I'll have 2 level 4 monsters remaining on the field, which means I can just Xyz summon into Malevolent Sin and then threaten to remove their monster. So it would either force out a back row or I can get rid of their monster. And in both situations, if I have Stratos, I can just summon it regardless. So that's why I put a rank 4 in there, and I think Malevolent Sin requires immediate response to the summon, which is why I used it instead. So in terms of other things, I played 8 Triamid mirror matches, and I only went first 2 out of the 8 times, but I was able to win 6 out of the 8 games, so I was really happy about my performance in the mirror match. Like I said before, the main reason I used Triamids was just because I had practiced it the most and I was most comfortable using it. But another reason why I felt Triamids were a good choice were because they were really good against hand trap decks because of Triamid King Golem, which meant that they were good against decks like Yosenju, Fire King, Lunar Light, and even Thunder Dragon. So every time I saw Yami Yugi on my screen, I was really happy because I thought I had a high chance of winning that game. So I think that's it for what I wanted to talk about. So I'm just going to show some of the replays I took during the event and hopefully they're interesting. And I'm looking forward to the KCGT main event next month as well. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to hit the like button, comment and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any more of my future videos. See you in the next video.